Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Unity. I'm Reverend Marla Mason. I am so pleased to be here with you all today. It's terrific to see your faces, to see your names, to welcome you into the virtual community that we call Unity of Bellevue. Right now, in these circumstances, in these conditions, we celebrate spiritual community together online every Sunday, honoring you, honoring the conscious spiritual path, honoring the teachings of unity, and our opportunity to walk the spiritual path and those teachings together. So welcome into that love vibration, the powerful place of evolution and spiritual growth. Our theme this month is facing the fear. Anybody have any fears ever? I might sometimes have a few fears, although just almost never, you guys, really. Okay, maybe every once in a while. So in the midst of our fears, what does it mean to walk in faith? In the midst of our fears, what does faith look like? What does faith feel like? How do we rest into spiritual truth, even when things around us might seem fear-provoking? So that's our topic this month, and we are going to spend some time today with the idea, but I have questions. We talked in the first week about the question of faith. What is faith? What does it mean? The second week, we talked about facing the fear. How do we rest in that fear with a sense of confidence and faith, but also not denying our fear? And here's what I know. The faith journey for me has always been full of questions. And as I studied and as I walked, I learned, I'm sure you've all heard that, an unexamined faith is not worth having, that I am a doubter. And I hope you're a doubter too, because it's our doubts that really allow us to wrestle with the angel of our faith. And once we've wrestled, then we know more thoroughly and more deeply what we really believe and who we really are. So today's topic is, but I have questions. And what that means is you're going to be able to ask some questions. Not yet, please don't do it yet. But because I want to kind of bunch them up together in the chat. But here in a little while, I'm going to invite you to ask your questions about faith, and particularly about the practical application of faith in the world. How do we live more fully from that place of faith, even in the face of our fears? And so be thinking about what your questions are about the practical application of faith in your life. And here in a little while, I'm going to invite you to type those questions into chat, and then we're going to just kind of have some conversation about those questions. So that's what's happening today. I want to let you know who's making it all possible. I am happy to welcome Clayton Brainerd. He is our board host today. Our guest musician is Hans York, and you're going to hear a little bit more from him, here in a little bit. You know, Hans is a great musician and somebody that I really think the world of. He's a powerful man, and he's a dear friend of our community. And so he is going to be setting the stage for us with a great soundtrack today. So I'm really happy to have him with us. Dorothy Bostetter is stepping in for Monica today to offer our announcements. Monica is away today. And Sabrina McFadden is stepping in for Monica as kind of our Sunday producer and holding down the technology end of things. So let's give Sabrina some extra love. And that's why you see Sabrina's name twice on the screen. She's actually got two computers going. And I'm super grateful to have Sabrina holding things down for us today. And so, let's see, anybody else to introduce? Oh, after service, don't forget, and we'll say this again later in the service, Jennifer Holt and Lynn Zeller are our prayer chaplains. So as we move through today's content, you might be thinking about, what is my prayer request? What could I take to the prayer circle with Jennifer and Lynn when we wrap up here our group gathering? So be thinking about that too. So I want to welcome now Hans York, the most beloved Hans York, who has traveled the world making music and learning and deepening and growing in spirit. And he brings those gifts to us here today. Hans?
Thank you so much for having me.
thunder and rain. When I came home tonight, there was lightning in the distance, burning holes into the sky and made it glow. Fear to swallow up the world I know. Thunder and rain, now I hear you saying, I can feel you take a hold of me. Want to run away, but I'm afraid to fall. See the water come and take it all. I want it over, I want it gone. Don't ask why, I don't understand. I want it over, I want it gone. Thunder and rain, thunder and rain. How does it feel when I ask you to share what it is that you're holding back? All the while I was digging in the dirt, time to let blood flow to where it hurts. I want it over, I want it gone. Don't ask why, I don't understand. I want it over, I want it gone. Thunder and rain, thunder and rain. You're not alone, learning to love again. So don't you take it out on me. I'm just gambling with the elements at hand. Bring us thunder and rain and wash our land. I want it over, I want it gone. Don't ask why, I don't understand. I want it over, I want it gone. Thunder and rain, thunder and rain, thunder and rain. Ba-da-da-da-da.
And so we turn within and recognize the spirit of the infinite that is animating us now. We recognize that there is only one life, one power, one presence. We know deep at the center of our being that this presence is animating us, is living us, is giving us life. And we simply allow ourselves to be lifted in our conscious awareness of this presence as we anchor in love, in light, in truth, in spiritual community today. I know that we have been called to this place at this time by divine appointment, and although we may appear to be separate in space, there is only one thing happening, and we are in that one thing together. And so we open our hearts to the inspiration of this sacred time together, the music, the message, the fellowship we share, everything conspiring to grow and evolve us more fully. I give thanks for those who have said yes. I give thanks for everything that is about to unfold, and I surrender it to the law, that which always says yes to the infinite good of our lives. I call it good, and so it is. Amen. And so we have an affirmation that we will share together today. I'm going to read through it once. And what I invite you to do as I read through it is to simply allow these words to fall on your consciousness. Allow them to fall in the fertile soil of your consciousness, and then you'll have a chance to share these words, to speak these words of power with me. I rest in faith, confident there is a presence and power greater than I am. I am at peace with my fears and know that I am nurtured and supported every moment, every breath. And so it is. And so, having heard these words, I invite you to declare them with me with conviction. Sabrina, can you please bring back the affirmation? All right, please declare these words with me. I rest in faith, confident there is a presence and power greater than I am. I am at peace with my fears and know that I am nurtured and supported every moment, every breath. And so it is. Thank you, Sabrina, and thank you, everyone. Hans.
There's a cloud on the horizon where the sun used to be, throwing a long shadow that slowly covers me. And it moves beneath the sky, washes through the sea, holds me in its spell until I fall asleep. And I dream a new morning, and I dream a new day. Bring it into existence and then walk that way. And I dream that the world is a wonderful place. There's movement in the heavens where the winds have taken shape, swirling dust and devils, dragons that awake. And they rage through crowded streets, leave nothing behind, only the weak, the open-hearted kind. And they dream a new morning, and they dream a new day. Bring it into existence and then walk that way. And they dream that the world is a wonderful place to be. We are tethered to all that's living, bound in endless flow. We need to help each other, giving our hearts to our souls. And we watch them slowly rise to higher altitude. Imagine something better, know it will be good. And we dream a new morning, and we dream a new day. Bring it into existence and then walk that way. And we dream that the world is a wonderful place to be.
Lovely, Hans. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we're talking about fear all month long. And we started with the question of faith. What is faith? And we defined faith that day as a belief in, a trust, a loyalty to something greater than we are, a mental attitude that is so inwardly convicted of a truth that we know it as surely as we know gravity holds us to the planet. And that is true faith. And we talked about faith is like Wi-Fi, didn't we? Well, faith is like Wi-Fi in three ways. It's invisible, it's highly desirable, and it instantly connects us to something that's greater than we are. But the problem with faith is just like Wi-Fi, it's always there. It's always available to us. Spirit is always there. It's always available to us. But we actually have to sit down at the computer of our life and connect to it in order to use it. We have to take the first step, even if we can't see the whole staircase, as Dr. Martin Luther King said. And so that is the essence of what we talked about in week 1. And in week 2, we talked about, okay, we've got a better idea now of what faith is and how available it is, but how do we use faith when we are facing our fears? And I shared with you the story of ropes course, which really brought all of my deepest fears to the surface, and what that was like for me to stand in the face of my fear and move forward and do it anyway, and how important it was to be in the presence of the fear, because we cannot transcend what we have not felt. And so we have to be present to and in the experience of our fears. And yet not let our fears stop us from moving forward in faith, in that deep inner conviction that something wonderful is happening. And today we are talking about, what are your questions about faith? That, as I mentioned earlier, that faith unexamined is not worth living. One of the people I read this week, Paul Tillich, he said, doubt is not the opposite of faith, but an element of faith. And I love this. He says, my mission is to bring faith to the doubtful and doubt to the faithful. I like that a lot. So that gives you a sense of who I am and what my relationship is with faith. But a powerful faith is open to questioning and subject to questioning. And so today I want to give you the opportunity to ask questions. I told you at the top, be thinking of what your questions are. And this is the time for you to type your questions into chat. And what we're going to basically do is, what are your questions about faith, and particularly the practical application of faith in your life? How, in this situation, how do I stand in faith? How do I stand in truth? So feel free to go ahead and key into chat any questions that you have about the nature of faith and how to live more fully and more deeply in faith in your life. And we will talk about those questions. While you're thinking about those questions and getting them typed in, I want to share just a couple of things with you. That faith unexamined is not worth living. Doubt is not the opposite of faith, but is an element of faith. I am here to bring faith to the doubtful and doubt to the faithful. What does that mean to you? How are you questioning your faith? What is your faith? What do you have faith in? How are you embracing doubt? And how are you facing your fears? And so as you think about this question: what do you need to know to be more fully present to the experience of your fears? What is going to help you be present to the experience of your fears? And then how are you going to apply what you know in your life? Now, it's interesting to me because it appears to me that in this group, there are no questions about the nature of faith and how to apply it in your life, because I don't see any. Oh, Susan, I see one. And that's interesting to me because let's go back to Paul Tillich. If we have no doubts, if we have no questions, how can our faith be full? So let me just take a look at what Susan has on her mind. Susan says, having faith that God is in all things when people do horrible things to each other is hard. How can I sustain my faith in the face of these acts? Right? What is with people anyway? Why do they behave these ways? Why do they do these things? And how do I keep my faith when it appears? Well, my phone is ringing and it's turned off, so I don't know how that can happen. Apparently my watch has faith in its connection to my phone even when my phone is off. So sorry for that interruption. Back to Susan. Having faith that God is in all things when people do horrible things to each other is hard. So we're having some experience of people not being kind to one another right now, aren't we? Does anybody watch the Great British Baking Show? I love that show. If you haven't watched it, here's why I watched that show. It is the kindest television show you can watch. These people are so kind. They are so nice to each other. And it's a competition, and they don't care that it's a competition. They're nice to each other. They support each other. They're kind to each other. And there's a part of me, especially right now, I think, where we are in our culture, that I crave that exposure to people being kind to one another. I crave that opportunity to bask in the energy of niceness, of kindness. And so when I think about how hard it is to stay centered in the faith that God is good and all is well in the face of people behaving badly toward one another, I think it can be a really valuable thing to keep our minds centered on the potential. You see, we all have the potential to be kind to one another. We all have opportunities to be kind to one another, to do the right thing. The challenge is we also have free will. We don't have to be kind to each other. And that's part of the spiritual equation, isn't it? Because we have free will, because our Creator has endowed us with free will, we can choose to embrace love and kindness and grace. And we can choose to embrace hate and separation and duality. And because we're having our experience in this realm of seeming duality, it can feel difficult to stay connected to the spiritual truth of love. And that is what faith is all about. It's about knowing that through these acts of unkindness, I can see through these acts to the core of the person. You know, in our meditation this morning, I invited you to breathe into the light that abides at the center of you. That same light abides at the center of everyone. We can't necessarily see it very clearly because a lot of people have a lot of boundaries and shades and barriers up that it can be very difficult to see their light. Their behaviors become walls through which it's difficult to see their light. And yet I know that light exists. And as we stay centered in that presence of light, in that presence of love, and see the truth of who someone is, we take the sacred breath and we anchor in faith that God is good and all is well. Now, it's an interesting thing. Our book of the month is this one. I've shared it with you before, the Falling Upward book. And one of the things that he talks about is that we have to be willing to see down as up. We have to be willing to see fear and anger and hate and behaviors that are not life affirming. We have to be able to see those as things that will grow us. And so we don't let the conditions convince us that life is bad and we're separate from good. We let the conditions convince us that we need only look a little more deeply for the spiritual truth of light and love at the core of someone. We sustain our faith by knowing truth. You guys have heard me say this before. I think it was Ernest Holmes who said, to abandon truth in time of need is to show that we do not know the truth. And the time of need is when life looks hard. That's when we reaffirm our commitment to truth. Let's see what Jean says. She says, how do you keep faith in the idea that I am good when everything around me in the field of form seems to be telling me I am worthless? Oh my gosh, Jean. Isn't that it, you guys? We have so much indoctrination into the idea that we are not okay. Is this true of anybody else? We have so much training that there is something wrong with us. And that training was provided by well-meaning people who believed something was wrong with them, right? And so the best they can do is teach us what they know. And this is the cool thing about faith. It expands us past the mental equivalent. If our mental equivalent, and by mental equivalent, I mean what we believe in mind is what manifests out in the world. We can only see in the world what we can embody in consciousness. And faith helps us push up against the boundaries of that consciousness. Rather than surrendering to, oh, see, told you I'm not good enough. Don't measure up. I'm not okay. Because did you hear what that person said? Did you see what that person did? I'm going to just stick with the affirmation of my unworthiness because they must know more about me than God does. Right? I mean, honestly, you guys, God doesn't create crap. I'm like, there is nothing wrong with any one of us. At the center of us is that light that lives large and calls us forth, is that light that from which we spring. We are created in the image and likeness of this infinite presence. And you know, if we are so stuck in the idea that there's something wrong with us, we might want to look to what are our ideas about God. Is there something wrong with God? You see, God is what we believe God is. And if we believe God is mean, judgmental, bad, then that is the kind of God that's going to outpicture in our lives. But everything, Emma Curtis Hopkins tells us, everything is a projection of our own consciousness. We're back to that mental equivalent idea. Our beliefs about God are projected into our lives about and become about us. And so what I invite you to do as you are letting other people tell you how to feel about yourself, and trust me, I can say it that distinctly because I've been there. The thing to do is to remain anchored in the awareness that these are just conditions. That this truly is not real. We've created all of this as a projection of our consciousness. And that doesn't make us bad. It doesn't make us wrong. Remember, we talked, I think it was week before last. No, it was last week. We learned to recover from falling by falling. If I fall into someone else's negative beliefs about me, that's just an opportunity for me to remember the spiritual truth of how good God is and in whose image and likeness I am created. And so I've fallen into the sin, if you will, of embracing someone else's false belief about me. And now I can allow myself to be redeemed by anchoring in truth, by anchoring in love, by remembering that I'm created in the image and likeness of the infinite, and the infinite doesn't do shoddy work. Here we are, perfect, whole, complete. And I have another idea to say about this, but I want to go to the next question because I kind of think it might have bearing on this. Dick Kinney says, when I have doubt, I think about the presence and how the presence and power has shown up in my life in the past, specific incidents. That's brilliant, Dick. Absolutely. Like, you know, in the same way that we build credit, we build faith, right? You know, the first time I got a credit card, I was young and stupid and I didn't understand. Anybody else? And I filled up that credit card. I spent all kinds of money and then the bill comes, right? And what I was doing was I was building faith in my unworthiness, because then, I mean, I could pay the minimum payment. That was fine. But every month it was getting worse and worse and worse. And it literally took me years to figure out that I was building credit in my unworthiness. I was building faith in my unworthiness by continuing to engage in something that proved to me month after month after month my unworthiness. And I had to shift and begin to create successes in my life that I could put my attention on. And I think this is what Dick is talking about, that I begin to remember, oh, you know, sometimes we have to start with childhood experiences. Like we're so deep in the muck or the mire that we can't even get to one good thing about ourselves. And, you know, I just started to remember sleeping like spoons with my grandmother. Unconditional love. I was a little kid, you know, I had to find something I could connect with that made me feel like I was good. And then we put our attention on that, and that begins to evolve us. And but the fall, remember, we learn to recover from falling by falling. I had to fall into that cycle of unworthiness and learn how to get up from it. Perfect. Thank you, Dick. And Jennifer says, I have fears, but I try to do it anyway, right? And we try to do it anyway in a way that we can be successful, right? Like when I was talking about doing the ropes course last week, I wore a harness. I wasn't up there without something that even if I fell, it could help me be successful. Mandy says, can you explain more about doubt in this context? How do you sit with uncertainty? How do you sit with uncertainty? Take a breath with me. You sit with it. I'm uncertain. And affirm your certainty. I am in the experience of uncertainty. And I know that there is a mind, an energy, a life that is infinite. And that mind is my mind now. And all is contained within that mind. And I can simply rest in the uncertainty, knowing that the mind of God is my mind now and the mind of God knows. And so I know. I just haven't seen it yet, but I know. For I cannot be separate from the mind of the infinite. Which I'm thinking, it's one of the novels that was made of a Jane Austen book. And I can't remember which one it is. Mansfield Park. And, you know, it's a big love story and all kind of hell is breaking loose. And at one point, the heroine is in a deep, deep experience of, oh my gosh, everything's a mess. And her sister says to her, are you sure? And she says, I have no gift for certainty. I have no gift for certainty. Well, then we just live in the mystery. See, you remember, mystery is another name for God. You know, I think in some ways, you guys, we have a challenge in our teaching because we teach the law of cause and effect. And I believe in that. I mean, you know, I'm holding a pen. You know, if I let go, the pen drops. The let go, right? Cause and effect. The gravity pulls the pen to the ground. That's the law of cause and effect, very simply demonstrated. The challenge is at the formation of our teaching in the late 1800s and early 1900s, this Newtonian view of the world, cause and effect. Everything was cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect. was the founders of our teaching. That's the paradigm, the mindset from which they were coming. And I believe in the law of cause and effect. I absolutely believe in it. But what we know now is that view of physics is incomplete. And we didn't know that in the late 1800s, the early 1900s. It's incomplete. We know now that under the laws of cause and effect is a great deal of uncertainty. It's called chaos theory, right? And when I look around me, I see a lot of evidence that here in the realm of duality, there's a lot of chaos. Anybody else see any chaos? There's a lot of chaos here in the realm of duality in which we are having our experience right now. And so even though there is a layer in which the law of cause and effect absolutely rules, and as I change my consciousness, I change my experience of life, I believe that. And I also believe that here in the realm of chaos, here where chaos is unfolding, sometimes the law of cause and effect doesn't look like immediate, like I drop the pen and it hits the ground, right? And can I be in chaos knowing that consciousness is cause, but also that I live in a realm of chaos? Also that there is another factor governing the way the universe works that's even deeper than that, and that there's nothing wrong with the chaos. We sit with uncertainty in the conviction that there's nothing wrong with it. We just, it's just chaos. It's all right. Evolution is always upward. We're going to be fine. Right now, it looks a little dark. It looks a little confusing. It looks a little chaotic. But as I rest in the spiritual truth of oneness, the infinite makes itself known as a divine pattern that is unfolding. And I am just a willing participant, aligning myself as much as I possibly can with spiritual truth, because spiritual truth is really what governs the universe, right? So if I can align myself with spiritual truth as much as possible, then perhaps the chaos won't push me around as much, but maybe it will. And I can just be present to what's happening. Carol says, I have a generosity of doubts. I heard hollering in my hood. It is game, not coyotes, right? In my neighborhood last night, there were bears getting in the garbage cans. I dream, right? Observe animals and the presence of wild animals. Rocks, plants help me breathe life into days. It's a kind of animism, sure. It animates my beliefs. And how does unity intersect with animals, their spirits? I guess what I would say is our philosophy of oneness, unity. There's one thing happening. And the energetic presence of all beings, animate and inanimate, is present in that infinite unity. There's only one thing happening, and I'm as much at one with all y'all as I am with the bear that was in the garbage can last night. No separation. And I'm super grateful to rest in that truth. Barbara says, does faith lead to closed-mindedness? If I'm open to new ideas, am I admitting that my faith was wrong? Barbara, thank you for that. Let's go back to what Paul Tillich said. I read yesterday. Doubt is not the opposite of faith, but is an element of faith. My mission is to bring faith to the doubtful and doubt to the faithful. I am immediately suspect of anybody who is too sure of what they believe, especially about whatever it is that governs the universe. I have times where it is my most sincere conviction that the way I see God and life is absolutely the way it is. But I have more moments of, oh my God, you guys, we're just all fooling ourselves. We don't know what's going on. We're trying to make up stories to make sense of things. And honestly, I'm kind of there more often than not than in the other place. But here's what I notice. As I have stayed true to my understanding of the universe as one thing, even though my life has gone like this, the slow trajectory has been upward. Does that make sense? as I've stayed true to what I believe are the principles that actually do govern the universe, they seem to work. And so I deduce, if you will, that they are so. And then all hell breaks loose and it's all over the place again. And I'm like, what am I doing? Have you lost your mind and you do this every week and you're teaching these, right? And that's okay, because that unexamined faith is not worth having. Because if we're not doubting, we are not doing our spiritual work. We were given brains for a purpose. Use your God-given brain to ask questions, to go deep, to question, to challenge. And that's the only way we grow. And you will fall, but remember, we learn how to fall by falling. So you just let yourself fall, and then you get up again and you do it some more. Does faith lead to closed-mindedness? I hope not. I have faith in humanity. I have faith in humanity and its mandate to learn and grow and deepen in spirit. I have faith that there is something wonderful happening, even though I can't always see it. And you know what? Please, can we just learn to admit we were wrong? Thank you, Barbara, for saying that. My faith has grown over the years. I mean, even this whole question about, how committed our founders were to the law of cause and effect, and that's the way it works. But that, and it is the way it works, but only at one level. And the denial of the chaos has led to pain and exclusion in our movement, excluding people who have illness or who are struggling, who feel like they can't show up because we're the positive. It's like, no. It's like there's something under it, and we want to be inclusive, and we want to question. It's why Ernest Holmes said, how important it was to remain open at the top. And I have to tell you, we're humans and we like things just so, right? I like things just so, and I like to have the answers, and I like to know what's going to happen at 3:00 this afternoon. And I like to know that there's enough money in the bank, and there's enough time, and there's enough love, and I like to know all of those things. And honestly, it's all appearance, and it doesn't really matter. And my only job is to show up, see what life has for me, be willing to be wrong, and be willing to move into a greater awareness of what's happening here in the realm of effect, here in this realm of duality, and to allow that to grow me, to allow my experience. Because why else would we be here? What would be the purpose in humanity being here on planet Earth as spiritual beings? What would be the purpose other than to expand and grow us in consciousness? Clayton is saying critical is to strengthen our community and support one another. Absolutely. Because, Reverend Kathy Ann Lewis used to talk about borrowing faith. When I'm in the dark place and I just don't have any faith, I can borrow your faith for a while, because I'm in the dark place right now and I can't see the truth of love and light and beauty. I can't see that right now. So would you know that for me? That's when we make a prayer request and we ask someone to know something for us, what we're essentially doing is borrowing their faith, because we're in the dark place. And the time is going to come when they're going to be able to borrow our faith, because we are willing to be in the faith expansion process. Beautiful. Peggy says, does evil exist? Actually, before that, Dick says, good explanation of unworthiness and doubt. Thank you, Dick. Yeah, and then Peggy says, does evil exist? I mean, how many of you have ever seen anything bad happen? How many of you have ever seen what appears to be evil? I mean, you can't open up the newspaper, right? There is so much evidence that this thing called evil, in quotes, exists. And yet, I think evil is a human manifestation of that unworthiness and doubt. There is only one life, and that life is God's life, and that life is good. And that life animates us and moves us and lives us, and it has given us the opportunity to be here on planet Earth for some reason that sometimes I got no clue. But it must have to do with spiritual evolution and growth, God knowing itself more deeply in this experience, because God's also evolving, just saying, I think, pretty sure. But there is a human experience of evil, and I believe that experience is human generated, because we are placed here with the free will so that we can fall, so that we can learn, so that we can grow, so that we can evolve. And those who engage in practices or behaviors that generate evil are simply not aware of the truth of who they are. And so what is, I believe, called forth from us in the face of the appearance of evil is compassion and empathy. That we are called to serve those who are being harmed by this human expression of badness, if you will. But that evil as an entity doesn't exist. It's not an entity like there's God and Satan. See, there's only one thing happening. God can't be unlike itself. There can't be God and Satan, God and the devil. God only had itself to create from. It doesn't, like an infinity by its very definition is one thing. And if God is infinite, then all is contained in it. And if God is good, it can't have evil in it, except that we are given free will to express, and sometimes we express in ways that bring about an appearance of evil. And so we are the source of evil. So let's knock it off. And let's love those who are committing acts that are harmful. Let's love them enough that they begin to realize that that kind of behavior, that outpicturing of a consciousness, of an unworthiness consciousness is no longer necessary. Now, in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to see how far I can get. Jerry says, self-judgment and judgment of others comes up in my life. How can faith be helpful for me to stop this? Boy, Jerry, I totally get it. Self-judgment and judgment of others. We just have to stop that stuff, you guys. We have to stop it. We have to stop judging others. We must anchor in the faith that love is what animates us. And that we are called here to love. Dr. Martin Luther King, I'm sure you've all heard that quote. Hate cannot drive out hate, right? Only love can do that. Only light can drive out the darkness. Only the light of love can drive out the darkness that is surrounding us right now. And so those that we would hate, those that we verbally or mentally or emotionally abuse, once again, that's just a projection of our own consciousness. All the places we're not admitting we're self-hating. And it's the consciousness of self-hating that has given rise to that person showing up in your life to show you who you are. So the way to love yourself is to love that person. Oh, that's painful to say, because I don't want to love that person. But that's my ego. That's not my spirit. All my spirit wants to do is love. It's my ego that wants to be right. It's my ego that wants to tell you what to do to make my life better. And so we are called to love because love always heals. Truth always heals. Allison says, my faith has been low. I'm cruising through a little faster now. I'm almost addicted to to it, but I feel hope and more faith than ever as I realize the answer is letting my light shine. And I've made an action plan Thank you, Allison. Letting go of social media, news media. Care for me, take a rest. I'm excited to put my energy showing up as my best self. See, make an action plan. Get committed. Get committed to doing those things that are life affirming for you, because if it's life affirming for you, it's life affirming for the world. Jennifer says we learn how to love by loving. She's absolutely right. We have to be that which we seek. Just like we learn how to fall by falling, we learn how to love by loving. Jean says, evil to me is the absence of the recognition of oneness. Absolutely. I agree completely. If there's really only one thing happening, if it's good at all, if it's even a little bit good, it has to be all good, because an infinity cannot be separated from itself. Mandy says, genocide, Holocaust seems pretty evil to me. You know, that is a human experience of so much pain. But did the universe create that, or did humans create that? Humans did that. Humans who believe they are separate, who don't understand that love is the spiritual truth of the universe and that love always heals. And so let's see if we can't find that place within us that is the presence of love. Let's turn within, take the sacred breath together, and anchor in the awareness that there is only one thing happening, the universal presence of love. And we breathe in to a greater and deeper and richer awareness of God as love, spirit, the presence, the beingness of the universe, the very heartbeat of the universe beating with the power of love. For we know that there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is the very life of love. And we allow the awareness of love to permeate every moment of our consciousness. Every cell in our body is alive with the very light of love. And I invite you in that consciousness to begin to see yourself more loving toward yourself, kinder, nicer, more loving, holding yourself in a light of love, blessing all of your imperfections, blessing all of your chaos, blessing the dark places and blessing the light, all the good that you know you are, blessing that. And as you begin to feel your body filling with this loving light, begin to project it outward. First, toward those it is easy for you to love. People you feel committed to, connected to, those for whom it is easy to love. See their light. See and bless their chaos. See and bless their dark places, their fallen places, and see and bless their good. And begin to expand your consciousness and include in this sacred circle perhaps those that it's a little harder for you to love. And those whose dark places in your mind are perhaps a little more pronounced. And begin to recognize your oneness too with these beautiful emanations of light. They just don't know it right now. And so you bless their dark places. You bless their chaos. You bless their light. And you simply engage in this act of inclusion, this ultimate act of inclusion for every person on the planet, for every rock, every tree, every stone, every animal. See yourself infinitely and oh so intimately connected to all there is, the peace and the chaos, the love and the hate. And lean into that perfect faith that there is something greater than all of this we cannot yet see. And it is good. And it is love. And it teaches us to love unconditionally forever and always. We surrender to this presence, we surrender to this love, and we let it be. And so it is. Amen.
The rain keeps falling, the ground can take no more. I keep calling, but nobody hears. Been out for days, took some wrong turns, lost my way, don't know how to return. And why, I'm wondering, time is passing by and life won't stop for me. It's the river that flows endlessly. Leave a little light on, show me how to find home. It's the only place for me. Leave a little light on, help me to find home. If you don't, my fate is sealed. And now the night falls, and I become prey. Cat-like thoughts moving every way. I need to focus, get myself in control. The fear of loving and losing it all. And while I am worrying, time is passing by and life won't stop for me. It's a river that flows endlessly. Leave a little light on, show me how to find home. It's the only place for me. Leave a little light on, help me to find home. If you don't, my fate is sealed. And while I'm playing, time is passing by and life won't stop for me. It's a river that flows endlessly. Leave a little light on, help me how to find home. It's the only place for me. Leave a little light on, help me to find home. If you don't, my fate is. Leave a little light on, leave a little light on, leave a little light on.
So Tony and I have searched a long time for a foothold into spiritual awakening, including Power of Now, of course, miracles, even Sai Baba and Ramtha. But it really wasn't until we heard Reverend Marla speak that that foothold solidified. And when it was clear to us that for us to continue this path, it required our financial support. We did not hesitate. And so years later now, we continue to benefit every day from this community. And I want to encourage all of you to step up as much as you can to share this experience. And I just want to give thanks to the ability for me to have grown in this way. So if you would all join me in confirming that with our offering affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you.
And so I give thanks for the blessing of these gifts. I give thanks for the giver. I give thanks for the great and mighty work that is created by the power of these gifts. I know that this center, this source of spiritual sustenance is richly and abundantly supported, and that we consecrate those gifts to the good use of transforming lives, transforming the world. I give thanks for it all and call these gifts blessed. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dorothy Bostetter, your board treasurer, and I am have been entrusted by Monica to deliver today's messages. Some pretty good stuff here. If you are visiting us virtually for the first time, we welcome you. We're so glad you're here. We invite you to join us for all of our online events. The best way to stay informed of what's happening at our center is to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter. You can do that at unityofbellevue.org. On the bottom of every page is a link to register. Our prayer chaplains today are Jennifer Holt and Lynn Zeller. They will be leading a virtual prayer circle following the celebration service this morning. And if you'd like prayer support, simply stay logged in to the Zoom meeting. So that the prayer circle can remain confidential, we ask that everyone who is not staying for the prayer circle, please log off at the end of the service. If you are unable to attend the prayer circle, you may send your prayer request to prayerchaplains@unityofbellevue.org or fill out the prayer request form on our website prayer page. Indicate in the message if you would like a prayer chaplain to call you to pray or just to talk. The last food truck of the year is Marination, a Korean Hawaiian eatery that is rated one of the top 3 in the States. I can tell you personally, they're delicious. Please join us between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. this Thursday in the Unity parking lot. The book of the month is Falling Upward by Richard Rohr, which offers a new paradigm for understanding one of the most profound of life's mysteries, how our failings can be the foundation of our ongoing spiritual growth. It's available for purchase through our website and newsletter link. Wednesday Community Connect meets every Wednesday at 1 p.m. The Zoom link is on our launch page. This is an opportunity to check in with each other and Reverend Marla to help stay focused on spiritual principles and practices midweek, particularly helpful during this very odd time. Some awesome classes start this week. Reverend Marla, would you like to tell us a little bit about yours?
So I want to encourage y'all to consider classes here at Unity. The power of going deep with these topics and these principles with a group of people who are, we develop learning community, and they're here to support you in wrestling with the angels of these questions, if you will. And so our classes this fall are The practical spirituality class is kind of an entry-level basic spiritual principles, some basic spiritual technologies and techniques, and how to put those to work to transform your experience of life. That's on Tuesday afternoons, and it's online. The Tuesday evening class is East Meets West with Thomas Troward. We are reading some powerful stuff by this early New Thought teacher and really doing a lot of great discussion about that work in the class. We started this class over the summer, and we had to cancel it after the second week because of my health stuff that you guys all know I went through over the summer. And so we are back, and we are starting over from the beginning, so feel free to join in. Monica is also doing some breathwork practice and has another class that she's offering that I can't speak to very coherently because it's new information for me. But what I can say is that Monica is a powerful human being and a powerful teacher. So check out the class schedule. It's on our website. It's on our Facebook page to get more information. That's what I have to say about classes. Anything else from you, Dorothy?
A couple more. Thank you, Reverend Marla. Save the date. Coming up October 18th, Sunday after services, we will be throwing an online celebration, including a party box. You will receive more information this week with an RSVP card. Please be on the lookout for that. If you've got questions, you can certainly contact Monica. Finally, this is your last opportunity to get your recipe in for the Divine Dining Cookbook. You can go to our website to submit your recipe and also to vote on your favorites. The deadline for recipes is October 1st. Thank you so much. Have a great week. And back to you, Reverend Marla.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Dorothy. Monica will be back with us next week. Get signed up for those classes if you're coming, because we start on Tuesday. And be in touch if you have any questions about those. Thank you, Hans. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Clayton. Thank you, Sabrina, for holding it all down. And all you beautiful people for showing up and being part of this beautiful, beautiful community. Let's close with the prayer for protection, which is coming to a screen near you. Please join me with conviction. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Stay online if you are interested, if you want to get supported in prayer with our prayer chaplains. See y'all later. Bye.
I got the power, you got the power, we got the power. I got the power, you got the power, we got the power. I got the power, you got the power, we got the power. I got the power, you got the power, we got the power.